Hello, everybody. Oh, my hair looks crazy today. Let's just put that on. Pretend that nothing happened. Alright. It is time to complain about the fucking weather. It's April 20th. And I'm sweating. I personally blame AI. There's other factors to blame. But I'm going for the easy target. Actually, genuinely considering turning on a fan. On April fucking 20th. And the worst part is I made tea. Hot, steaming hot tea. So, I guess I'll drink that in about an hour. Or forget about it and throw it out. That's probably what I'm gonna do. Alright. Well, in today's sauna programming session, I'm actually not entirely sure what I'm gonna work on. And the worst part is I always end my streams saying what I'm going to work on next. And I always start my stream saying I don't know what I'm going to work on next because I completely forgot what I said at the end of last stream. Maybe I just need to watch the VOD and remind myself, but I'm a little too lazy for that. So, I do remember what I did yesterday. It was quite a lot. This is the folder. This is the folder. Yes, this is what I've been working on. I totally remember it. Alright, I added one feature to my file system and one to my text rendering. Both of which I feel like should have taken a lot longer, but they actually worked surprisingly well. The first one of them is you can... Are you crying? You good? I think he's good. The first one of the features that I added was certain files can have a data signature, which indicates the type of data that the file holds. It's completely voluntary, it's completely optional, it's completely unverified, but it's supposed to help orient you towards, dealing with data a little bit better, because one of the biggest issues with Unix file systems is that you just have a bunch of data and you have no idea what you're looking at. Especially in the clipboard, which is not a Unix file system thing, but it is for me, so I had that issue. So now they have this. And then I also added some basic text formatting to my code editor, to my text display rendering code. I actually remade it entirely, and now we have some very basic color formatting. It's just completely arbitrary and hard-coded. And I remember I said I was going to continue working on this, so thank you for reminding myself. Or thank me for reminding myself, I guess. Do I know libc on Linux? What do you mean? I am familiar with the concept. I hate the concept. I do know it, unfortunately. I mean, some parts are okay, some parts are... Alright, so, yeah, I added this very simple file color formatting thing, but it's very, very hard-coded. So let me open the 50 projects that I need to open to work on this thing. One is the UI library that actually has the code for the text rendering. And, well, no, the code for the text rendering is actually in this library. Then the UI library has the code for the text field. And then is the actual code editor. And the operating system that it's going to run on. And then I have my compiler that has nothing to do with it. So that's 4 different projects. Nimlib is for nim. I see. That makes sense. Honestly, raw libc is kind of shit, kind of horrible, kind of. There's some really stupid things going on in there. Actually, hold on. There's that. Hope it's readable enough. There's that. What's stupid about libc? Now, when this function was created, it had an int type, because int was 8 bits. Now int is 32 bits, but you still only use 8 bits for backwards compatibility, so memset works on byte values. They never bothered updating this to be a char, for example, which is a built-in type that they could have used. An unsigned char if you really felt like it. Or you could have created your own, specific uint 8_t type. But no. Instead, we're going to keep it as an int, and we're going to ignore 24 bytes and only use 8. Good job, good job. Then we have some other functions, such as... Is this an actual function, by the way? I didn't implement this one, so is this an actual thing in libc? Mem. Memem. Mem. How are you supposed to pronounce this shit? Mem. It doesn't roll off the tongue. It's so counterintuitive. Wow. It's really, really horrible. Alright, so we have certain functions such as mem, which, as its name obviously indicates, locates a substring. Obviously. I feel like there should be another place where I call libc stupid, but I can't find it. There's only that. That's suspicious. Libc is stupider than this. There are some weird string manipulation functions, such as... Let me see if any of them I have implemented. No. Wait, actually, come to think of it, memory operations are in string.h. So if you want memcopy or mem, you get it from string.h. Absolutely incredible work as always. I'm not seeing mem here, so maybe mem comes from something else. No, it's a string function. No, this is memCompare. So it's maybe not part of libc. I have no idea. Hello, Seth. I'm doing good. How are you? Just complaining about libc for a bit. Oh, strtalk. It's a good one, because what the fuck does that do? strpbrk. Go figure. strlen. Honestly, I know it. But, Jesus. Overall, just a very poorly designed system. very poorly designed library. I feel like you should absolutely wrap libc if you're gonna use it. Now the problem is I'm not even wrapping libc, I'm making my own damn thing. The problem is, for cross-platform, I am relying on libc. And I kinda don't get to name my functions the same as libc's if I want to make them smarter. Like my implementation of memset used a U8. No, the original version used an integer. And then the way that I implemented it, I kind of didn't think about it. I implemented it set 32 bits at a time. Because that's the size of a fucking integer. And then it turned out to be wrong. So it led to bugs, so I had to change it to a objectively worse implementation. And now I have a memset 32, which is explicitly using 32-bit values. Excel is part of your computer science degree? Why? Copilot works in Excel now. We don't need to use spreadsheets anymore. The amount of tax fraud that's going to be committed starting next year. Holy shit. The various government agencies will genuinely think that people are revolting against them. No, they're not. It's just people are using Copilot in Excel now. They're just making really stupid mistakes. Wait, did they remove Copilot from Excel? No, there it is. There it is. Wait. Did it just suggest translating the page that I wanted in English? It gave me in Spanish, and then it suggested translating it to English? Did I see that right? It flashed here for yep. Yep. Yes, it did. To be fair, Copilot Excel doesn't really tell you a language. How can you love the future? It's really great. Someone's about to invent a new tax crime that hasn't been invented so far. And by someone, I mean Copilot. But it's gonna be down. Hold on. If you don't see Copilot in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or OneNote, who the fuck uses OneNote? It might not be included with your Microsoft 365 subscription or available based on your organization's settings. Learn which Copilot license you have. There's multiple licenses. You know what? This is starting to sound a little bit too familiar. I'm not enjoying it anymore. Copilot was actually in the hold on. Let me pronounce this correctly. Snipping tool. Okay, now I genuinely looked it up in English. Why are you giving me results in Spanish? And if I click, do you want to translate? I love how the internet is smarter than me now. Except it's not. Snipping tool. See, I kind of feel like pronouncing it sniping tool. That's not exactly correct, so I need to be a little bit careful. Even though every time I say it, I also say that, so it really doesn't help. This used to have Copilot. They removed it now. Why would this need... How did this use Copilot? How did this use Copilot? Would you care to explain? Oh, they would care to explain. Although that's not Microsoft, that's Michael.
Windows 11 is
Also, to watch a video, YouTube reloads like 5 times.
followed your channel. Updates around AI, and a lot of these are hitting those Copilot Plus PCs. And I myself have a Snapdragon one, so I get to test some of the cool stuff. One of my features that I'm actually looking forward to, I'll kind of showcase right now, is this new snipping tool. That kind of just makes your screenshots a little bit more tighter, I would say. So check this out. So I'll go over to. This is Microsoft Learn documentation, and I was talking to someone about restricted content discovery. Maybe we want to take a screenshot or something. So I can hit my screenshot, and then you've got these selections up here. So typically we've got your video and your camera, and then you've got this little selection here. So if that's highlighted, if you select over something, it'll kind of tighten it. So kind of you tighten it. What I found is that you want to get it sort of close. You don't want to do it like too crazy. It'll just kind of, there you go. So there it kind of snaps in to make it just a little tighter.
That's so unpleasant to look at.
Life-changing. It just helps with, to me, it just makes it a little bit more tighter and neater, especially if you're sending those over to people. So the capture and bam, right there. So maybe even like on my LinkedIn feed, I want to capture something that right here because I'm really interested in it. If I get pretty close to it, it'll kind of snap itself in, just make it look that much tighter. Like I said, not game changing, but it is a fun little tool that just makes it that much easier for me and kind of tightens up some of those screenshots when you're sending over to people and so forth. So hope that was cool. Enjoy the no snipping tool.
That was amazing. Yes, I was genuinely speechless throughout all that. I literally could not say anything. I was expecting him to talk about it. I wasn't expecting him to glaze it. It auto crops. Wow. And it also does it without leaving even a little bit of margin, which it could. If you just made it do that, it would. But another question that I have is, what is restricted content discovery? Restricted content discovery to protect... Nice one. To protect content while taking time to ensure that permissions are accurate and well managed. With restricted content discovery, organizations can limit the ability to users to search for files from specific SharePoint sites. Alright, it's not what I thought it was. I was genuinely scared that it would be that Copilot looks at what you're screenshotting and makes sure that there's no sensitive information in that. Which, granted, so long as you only think about it for a second, that sounds like a great idea. Until you realize that it's essentially Microsoft saying, hey, careful who you give your private company data to. Give it to us. We'll keep it safe. Obviously, they're not actually doing that. That's just what I thought. But, like, I could have easily just been right. I wouldn't have been surprised in the slightest if I was right about that. And if not them, somebody else has got to be working on that. So one of those AI startups on Twitter, 100% working on a privacy tool that checks your screen to make sure that you're not oversharing. Let us steal your data so that they can't steal your data. I love the future. It's really great. Can't you tell how happy I am to live in interesting times? It's so lovely. You win some data, you lose some data. Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is. It is what it is. Okay. All right. Still not entirely sure what I want to focus on. Well, kind of am, just not sure. It's like a big undertaking. There's this other beautiful thing, which is that some guy in like 2015, some guy in 2015 decided, I want to make a code editor. And you know what would be great about it? If I could make it a browser that runs separate from your browser. You write code in this editor that's written in fucking JavaScript. Because you know what's better than native? JavaScript slop. Java slop sounds like Java slop, which is a different type of slop. So he had this brilliant idea. What's his name here? Chris. Absolutely incredible idea my guy had over here. And then the entirety of software, literally everything, every single little bit of software became JavaScript. Every last bit of software, everything is fucking JavaScript. The worst programming language of all time. Mind you, that's not even an exaggeration. Then Atom got purchased by GitHub, which well, was it developed by GitHub in the first place, or was it purchased by GitHub? No, it was originally done in GitHub. Okay, so Microsoft bought GitHub, and they did what they do best: make a bad thing worse. So now we have VS Code. And with VS Code, they invented LSPs. I actually looked this up a while ago. How does an LSP work? An LSP, which very obviously stands for laser shock peening. What an interesting word, peening. It stands for, where is it? Language Server Protocol. It's essentially what every code editor out there uses in order to give you code completion. Now, syntax highlighting, technically not directly. It can also be given by LSPs, but it can also be given by something like tree sitter, which is also JavaScript. I don't want to speculate on what laser peening is. What was it? Laser shock peening. Yeah, that sounds 18 plus, so I'm gonna stay out of that one. And the language server protocol, which is something that's gonna be running a lot on your machine, is a actual server protocol, mind you. It's like a whole server client architecture with JavaScript. JSON, which is JavaScript. Standard object notation. JSON. JavaScript. Oh, JavaScript object notation. That's what the S stands for, script. JavaSlop object notation. Which honestly, not even a bad format. Probably the best thing to come out of JavaScript, if not the only one. I have to say though, is there maybe a better way? Is there a better way? I don't know. I feel like there should be. But my operating system is reliant heavily on the file system, and so I want to do that. I don't want to do a client-server JSON-powered protocol just to get code completion. Genuinely stupid thing. It does more than code completion, but yeah, still, genuinely stupid thing. So if I do code syntax highlighting, and I do code completion, and other tools eventually, I would want to do them through the file system because it's genuinely ridiculous to use something like this. It's okay, maybe I'm overreacting a little bit because what I'm doing is essentially the same thing just without JSON. So maybe I need to not be so harsh for the first time ever on Microsoft. Because like, yeah, okay, they had a good idea. They had a good idea. It's just kind of a stupid implementation because it's Microsoft. JSON can be very wasteful, is my point. Hello, Rhea. Hello, Goldfish. How are you doing? I'm doing good. That sounds like I'm answering my own question. I'm answering your question, just to be clear. Alright. I probably won't even get to this point today, but that's why I was looking at my compiler. I was trying to make sure that everything works, compiles. I had to add a couple arguments to the compile script. And I did mention recently that my compiler kind of recently has been having a little bit of a tendency to, I was going to say overheat. I'm not sure where I'm getting that from. To go in an infinite loop, especially when it has some sort of compilation problem. So that's not great.
If the compiler is your power, what are you without it?
I am the compiler. And the LLM. And the code completionist. And the syntax highlighter, because that's what we're going to be doing today, most likely. We're going to try. We're going to see what we can do. All right. There's a lot of moving parts to just get some fucking colors on some screen. The least of which I did yesterday in what, like an hour? Which was the actual, hey, color this part of the string in yellow. That part is going to be relatively easy. See? That part is relatively easy. Part one of what makes it difficult is to tell the text editor which part to make yellow, which part to make green, which part to make blue. There's also a bunch of mappings there. Technically, you don't do it with colors directly. You do it with, like, this is a keyword, this is a generic, this is a, like that. But, after that, it gets to colors, and the text editor understands colors, and there's that. That's part number one if you're talking to an actual LSP, which I am not. I am talking to my own compiler. Maybe I should just have LSP support. I don't even know exactly what the protocol looks like. And again, even if I don't do LSP support, I'm just gonna end up doing something incredibly similar to it. So maybe I need to stop complaining so much about it. But on top of all that is communicating with the compiler or with whatever is hosting the LSP or whatever on my system. Would it be, I think, Now, no matter what syntax highlighter you're using, if really all code editors just speak the same language, be it, LSP, or I end up doing my own thing, and deciding that all code editors inside of my operating system should speak the same language, or even if you decide to roll your own LSP solution eventually separate from what I'm doing, whatever. There should be one. It should be exposed through the file system, and I have a lot of stuff to do that. I can easily expose modules through the file system. I can even expose processes through the file system. And I haven't done the whole, what is it called? Yeah, but keep in mind, everything that I'm saying goes for LSP, this part that I'm saying anyway, goes for LSP, but it also goes for syntax highlighting, even if you do it separately. Because somehow you need to have an external tool of some sort, which you send code to, and it sends you format back, or it sends you autocomplete back, or whatever. You need to have something that does that, external from your code editor, and that's what I'm talking about. So we need to communicate with it. There's also the fact that the compiler doesn't technically run on the operating system, although it probably could with a few fixes. Also, hello, Ice Dave. But there's a lot of things to consider. Again, the least of which is coloring text, which we did in like an hour yesterday, and honestly, I thought it would be really slow the way that I'm doing it, but no, it works fine. Why am I so blue? There we go. If I remembered where I did it, I would show it. Oh, here it is. This is it. This is all the code for the syntax highlighting. And actually, this doesn't even have to do with the syntax highlighting. This is some code that I used to have in a different file. It didn't make a lot of sense there. It makes more sense here with other text tools. So technically, this is the code for syntax highlighting. 64 lines of code. Well, for text color, which again is not particularly complicated. We use an array of text formattings with ranges, colors, and sizes, and then that's it. Speaking of which, one thing I didn't test yesterday is how does it handle different sizes? Right, so actually those 3 yellow includes that it shows are hard-coded right now. They are hard-coded here. And today, the first thing to do is to not make them hard-coded. The second thing to do is to make them communicate with something so that we get some actually smart information. But before that, what happens if I just make certain text bigger? Wait, nope, you're recompiling the operating system. I need to recompile the code editor. Build. Yeah, it doesn't handle it very gracefully, I have to say. But we should be able to fix it. Relatively simple. Should be relatively simple to do that. Let me see. If it's not, it's really an edge case. It's not that important, especially for code, which is all the same size, so we're good. But I believe that the issue that it's having is that this size has changed. And so if We're going to calculate the current size of the text, character by character, by artic. And if it happens that the current size is bigger than the size that we had established before, then we are going to just set the new size to the current size. That way we keep the biggest size that we have. We can even make this a little bit better if we just do maximum value between the current value of size and this one. And then whenever we have a new line, we are going to set the size back to 0. Let's see if that worked. Like magic. It's a little bit weird on the fact that the X and Y sizes are the same. But maybe we can even do something about that. Yes, we can. Alright, so maybe it did make sense to have a current size. Yo. If size is bigger than current, no, the other way around. If current size is bigger than size, yeah, line height would be better to do that separation because we do need it. We do need it. Char width and line height. All right, so we're gonna give them proper names. So what do you know? Char width gets reset when we do a new line, and line height gets reset when we do a new line. Age verification, when it's an operating system. Right now it's an operative system. You have to read carefully what it says at the bottom of the thing. All right, so this new line thing, it's using it for the line size, so that's the line height. Right, the cursor here, you're using the char width. Here you're using the char width. You're using the line height. And you are using the line, no, the char height. The char height, char width. Okay, and then we need to calculate them, which right now they're the same. Char width. Hold on. Current char width and current line height. They're currently the same, but they're not always going to be the same. And wait, right. How's embedded going to work with age verification? You know what, never mind. Let them figure it out. If char width is smaller than the current char width, then the char width becomes the current char width. And if the line height is smaller than the current line height, then the line height becomes the current line height. Hey, Kyle. Alright, so we increase the cursor by the current char width. We increase the new line by the line height. Not current, cur. Line height here. And char width. That's a good question. What should it be? This, I assume, should be the global one. Not entirely sure, but right now they're the same, so it should be fine. Yep. That works surprisingly well. That's pretty good. And I'm glad I did that now, because there's gonna be a bunch of places where I have to replace character size or scale with width and height. So I'm leaving one less place to do that. Anyway, alright, we tested that, and it works pretty well. Had to make a couple improvements, but it works. But anyway, to get the syntax highlighting, we're currently getting it from here, which is kind of a little bit weird. So I think it would make more sense to expose it externally. Now, I can actually expose this feature to any text width at all. So the definition of a node, a document node, has node info, which can now have a formatting text format, txt format, and text format comes from where? It's in text draw. Okay. Pretty much a lot of different UI elements are going to have text of some sort. Actually, all UI elements technically have a text property. They have a content property. Whether they use it or not is their own thing, but they all technically have it. So having text formatting for all of them makes perfect sense. Draw text draw. Wait, hold on. Actually, I shouldn't even have to do this, because draw should include text draw, so that I don't have to import it separately. I don't care if you don't use it, you need it. Alright, so all of them have a text formatting. I blanked a little bit there. Txt format count. I don't like the idea of them being two different properties, because I'm gonna forget to set these properties. I guess we'll see. Hold on. I need to think about this, because I shouldn't just support a single array. I should support dynamic arrays as well for this thing. So we're gonna just create a simple, very easy to use type def struct text format array, which is going to automatically hold the format as a void, actually, and the size count. It's also going to hold an enum. I'm not necessarily loving this whole thing of how to structure it. Let's do FMT array static. In the future, I can add FMT array chunk, or even stack, which is a dynamic array type that functions like a stack. Yeah, this kind of works for now. I guess we can fix it later. All right. So that way, you kind of have to specify this whole thing. We can even give you a little bit of a helper for it, such as a defined little, or even just an actual function. What do you know? An actual function. Holy shit, we're getting fancy over here. stack to txt format or text format, which we do need a stack anyway, so include data struct stack.h, take a stack t, and return a text format array that is array type is fmt array stack. Format is just a pointer to the stack, and the count is a, well, we could technically leave it empty because it should be calculated dynamically. That's the entire point of putting it in a stack like this. And then the array type, which just takes a text format pointer. That's going to be static with the pointer, and the count should be enough to do size of pointer divided. No, that's probably going to give me a size of a. Can I do it like this? Would that be okay with you? Not quite, would it? It would be the size of a text format. Just so you don't have to manually. Yeah, I don't think this is gonna work. If I do it like this, it's also gonna complete. It's suspicious, which means it's wrong. Alright, let's not waste too much time here. Right. So we're going to modify the signature of this function to take a text format array. Like that. That's the only place where I need to change it. Going to need to modify this function, get current format, boom, which now just goes through the array count, and let's say that if array type equals to fmt format stack, then we're going to update the count when we read it. So we can use it here with the latest version of it. And then a new static inline to get a text format pointer. From the array, a size t index. That's what we're going to be calling here, get format at array I. Just a little bit of pointers there, and then just do this. We can actually switch on it. Switch on the array type. And in case the array type is this shit over here, then we will do a return of a text format pointer stack get. Oh, we can actually have a little macro for it. text format from the array fmt index. You're gonna complain about the array, aren't you? Returning text format? No, okay. Like that. That easy. And in case it's an fmt array static, then we can cast our array, this thing, to a text format array, then just index it at index, and then return the address to that thing. And we can close the switch, and that should be it. Alright, so now we support those array types. And we also have this little helper, which hopefully means that I won't have to... It's all of this just so I don't have to write two different properties and forget one of them. But hey, I think it's worth it. Format. Text formatting. Alright. Then we can get rid of this hard-coded over here, and if the node has a text formatting, wait, let me do a default for it. So there isn't technically a fmt array none, and usually I like to reserve a value 0 of an enum to an invalid state. So that's worth having, but that means that in here I need to casse this thing and return as null pointer.
Biol Evil 666 followed your channel.
With a little bit of null checking there. Okay, back to you. So if your node info formatting array type is not equal to fmt array none, then that means that we have a proper array format, and we can just pass this. And if not, we just pass a default into the text drawer. Finally, last thing I need to do is, can I actually get my array back? The hard-coded array I needed to test. That's my emotional support hard-coded array. I really need it. Where'd you go? Oh, I never committed this code, so it's gone. That's wonderful. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Copy. And redo. Boom. Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna use this array. Nope, here. To hardcode the formatting, but this time on the outside of our code editor, where I can just do formatting, array to text format, where our pointer is formatting, and do I have a size? I feel like in types.h I actually have a helper to do size of array divided by size of element. Otherwise I'm gonna hardcode it, but hey. NR. Not sure why I called it that, but it is NAR. Which means if I add more stuff in here, it'll automatically update in here. Alright, there's an ad running. Should we keep it in suspense? There's actually more people watching on YouTube right now, so no. Never mind, it doesn't fucking work. I have to reload. What is your problem? Where is it not declared? On line 29. Oh, because it's declared inside of the thing. This might honestly be code that I want to reuse in other places where I do arrays like this, but right now I only have it in here. That should fix the problem. It did. No, it didn't. What are you complaining about? Arch non-elf. Multiple definitions. I am pragma once in it. Multiple definitions, seriously. Okay. Well, anyway, these are supposed to be static inline. There we go. And our text formatting is gone! Hell yeah. Oh wait, we're supposed to have it actually there. Never mind. Ah, shit. No, there isn't any formatting. Interesting. Interesting. Text formatting array to text format actually returns a static type with a pointer and a count. Okay, yeah, I really don't like this part of the text editor. Of the text field, I mean. That you pass it a node info, which is supposed to have all the information about rendering a node, but I don't pass it all to it, so. Is it not called text field? Oh no, text field. Brother, what are you talking about? Oh, I moved it to its own file. See, this is the actual... Why am I even doing this, by the way? Oh, because the background color gets moved to this. And a bunch of other information, sizing information, is moved to this. Hold on. This might break stuff, but...
Jereng1 followed your channel.
What am I gonna call this? We're gonna call it the text info. Whoa. Double cursor too close to the sun. What's your problem? Redefinition. I fucking knew it. See, I already had a text info. Text node info. And what I want to do here is I want to copy all these properties except for the sizing rule. So essentially, it's going to be info. Then we're going to manually set. Why did my cursor go up here? Anyway, text node info sizing rule to size fill. Alright, so that should copy the property that's currently missing and any other properties that I might add in the future. And bada bing, bada boom, we got the text formatting this time coming from outside the house. This time it's actually coming from the code editor itself, which means the code editor can decide on its own formatting. Shall we, for example, hardcode a little bit of text formatting? How do I get the text theme? Are you talking about Zed or are you talking about my editor? It is kind of Unix-like, yes. File system, but I'm trying to improve on the things that I don't like about Unix, and trust me, the list is extensive. So it's Unix-like in the sense that it has a file system. Yeah. Even yesterday I changed it so that the file system actually has a little bit of a type system. So I get the best of both worlds. ANSI wait, hold on. Now we can do ANSI colors in the terminal. By the way, which we could do before. Does that still work? Do I remember how it works? First off. And second, does it still work? So my terminal, I looked at ANSI colors and ANSI escape sequences and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing any of that. Thank you. But I just made my own thing that's a lot simpler. I just don't remember how it works. So my bad. If I'm not mistaken, you can color in the console, which should be found in utils console.kpp. There should be a little bit of hex rendering code. Set text color prob. Nope. Not here anyway. Unless there's any more code than this. No, there isn't. Alright. In the terminal itself, perhaps? Perhaps? Terminal? Terminal? Oh, so this file is not being picked up by the compile commands, so it's all red. But anyway, any hex rendering? No? Is that code just gone? Yeah, I'm getting a slight feeling that at some point or another I got rid of the custom escape colors. Well, escape colors. Custom text colors that I had in here. ANSI escapes, I have to say, are useful, but they're so unintuitive. So poorly made. So 1978. Is that the correct number? Come on. History. It was this one, the VT100. '78. Boom. Wait, you know what? You know what? I just remembered. Literally right there. Literally, the thumbnail is exactly what I'm looking at, what I'm looking for. That's how they work. That's how they work. Does it work? Does it still work? I'm not seeing any code for it, so I would be a little bit surprised if they work. But no, just 3, I guess. Hello, unknown. So no, that's a no. But we can reintroduce them. Maybe this time we'll do ANSI. I don't know. Probably not. Maybe I need to go back to making videos, because then I'm gonna forget all the stuff that I am doing right now, and that's gonna be useful. Then again, I'm kind of surprised that the code for it is gone. It must have been gone in a refactor or at some point. I must have removed it without even realizing it. Is there no parsing code here whatsoever? Parse arguments, arguments, nope. Arg start, full command running, yep, this got rid of it. Oh well. Well, we'll have to reintroduce it with text formatting now. Alright, so let's do some very basic text format stacking. Should be a pointer. Stacking meaning using a stack for them. Which means we get rid of you, we do stack to text format. This is the stack in question. We're going to do a stack create. And the stack create, where's my autocomplete? See, I find that incredibly unreadable. It's horrible. I would rather do rich text formatting than that. Which, by the way, this also allows me to do. It was actually a big reason why I wanted to do this, is rich text formatting. Why am I not getting any kind of autocomplete in here? I'm going to make an educated assumption that the chunk array that actually powers a stack is going to have as many elements as there are characters divided by 32. It's just a completely random thing. Essentially the number of tokens in the string, just with a randomly decided number, completely arbitrary. But then again, it's just an initial number. It can actually expand past this point. All right. And we are going to, and again, I lost the format rules that I had before. So first I need to test that the stack works. Copy. Paste. Alright, so we're going to do a stack push into format rules and a push u with your address, u and u, 31 and 58. We're going to get rid of this array that we're no longer going to use. And if everything works, it should be the same. Yep. Just fine. Alignment fault. You and your fucking alignment faults, ARM. I swear to God, what a horrible system. Oh, you're not allowed to write it. You're not allowed to access memory if it's not perfectly aligned. Come on. x86 does something better than you. That's fucking embarrassing. Hello, Sint. And the worst part is I don't even know what the problem is. Although I get a feeling that this alignment fault has been happening recently when processes crash. So one more time, when a process crashes, this crashes. And I'll have to debug what exactly is causing the alignment fault, but that doesn't change the fact that the process is crashing. The process is crashing... Not for the reason I thought. Oh, I probably didn't get autocomplete because stack create is just a definition that goes to chunk array create, item size, and chunk capacity. I did that correctly. Also, this should be here. I can guarantee you are using this in the header. It's literally a stack is just a chunk array renamed. Well, to be fair, it could be crashing not because of the initializer, just could be crashing because of the rendering. Could be crashing inside the library. It's a little bit hard to tell. Let me just make sure that the code initialization the stack initialization works. I would call that a yes. Alright, so my problem is in the rendering. So stack push creates these text formats. Then the getter gives me... Yeah, okay, I kind of see the problem. To get a pointer, we can just do this. We don't need to use this macro. So the problem is that I'm dereferencing the type and then using it as a pointer anyway. So that's definitely not super valid. That's not really amazing. Here, the stack get should just be stack get without this thing, like that. Since this is a void pointer, it automatically casts to a text format pointer, whereas before I was actually dereferencing it and then referencing it again, which is incorrect. No, not referencing it again. Just dereferencing it once. Alright, there we go. Cool. For OS Dev, there's not a whole lot of resources, but the OS Dev wiki is a pretty good starting point. And there you go complaining. For reasons unknown. Clang is being real stupid. Anyway. Let's say that I want to do some manual stack formatting. Let's say that all the includes, I want to make them yellow. Right, not just the first 3 hard-coded, but I want to do it with all of them. And I can actually use that one function that we saw before. How did I end up on this file? How? Sometimes I press random keys and the most random stuff happens and I have no idea how I did it. Instead of this, how about we use some good old-fashioned mem. What? For size t I equals 0, I is smaller than size I plus plus. I don't know how this function works. Mem. We have a haystack, and that would be contents plus I, which length size minus I. And the needle that we're looking for is include, and the size of our needle is 8. And this is going to return a void pointer void pointer, which I assume is going to point us to include. The first instance that it finds, we're going to calculate that back to an index, which is what we're using here. Wait, hold on. If it doesn't find it, which I'm assuming we do like this, we can just break out of this loop. Meaning there's no more includes. Otherwise, if we do find them, we move like this. And we include a new one of these, in which we're going to be formatting starting at I with the 8.
Engineering_Fox followed your channel.
I would be surprised if this works. It works. I'm not even surprised. I'm numb to it. I'm just that good of a programmer. I found a string. I found a string inside another string. It's funny that today I coincidentally started the stream by making fun of libc's functions like mem, which is literally unpronounceable, and now I'm using mem to do the most basic text formatting. Now, again, the somewhat easy part is getting the color on the screen. And even if we do it like this, where we look for specific keywords and give them specific colors, this is the most basic possible, the most base... the the most basic possible kind of syntax highlighting that we can do, where we just look for a specific string and we decide that that string is going to be yellow. Simple. Am I good? Think I am. Does it renew? Yes, it does. All right. Crisis aside. Yeah, this is the most basic version of this. Whereas instead, what we really want to do is we want to send periodically. We want to send our code to some service that's going to tell us what the syntax highlighting should be. Now, again, I was making fun of LSPs and tree sitter. They're not exactly the worst, eh? Especially tree sitter, because I've already built a tree sitter thingy. Now, the tree sitter thingy in question is fucking JavaScript, so it literally is illegal in my operating system. Oh, what? I was just drinking tea till like 30 minutes ago. But yeah, no, that was just a temporary thing. Don't worry about it. All right. Yeah. So tree sitter is kind of a non-starter in the sense that I don't really want to integrate with that because it is JavaScript, which means it cannot run natively on my system. Now, can it technically run natively on Linux? See, that's the thing. We have a lot of stuff to do. I don't exactly have a document to plan out what I'm planning to make. Honestly, I prefer to use the system's own code with a bunch of to-dos for that, because then the code base has its own issue tracking. And also, I use this thing sometimes, but I barely update it. And I just work on whatever I need at the time, or whatever I feel like working at the time. So not really, but there is a lot that we need to kind of look at. Right, because the compiler right now runs on Linux. It does not run on redacted. So that should be thing number one. Can I get the compiler to run on redacted? And the answer is... Am I using any special code whatsoever? All of it should be... No. I am not using any special code whatsoever, so maybe I can get the compiler to run on the system. That would be very interesting, if I'm able to do that. Damn, maybe we can try that. That would be very interesting. Because then... Okay, that's step number one, is getting the compiler somewhere. Right? Be it on Linux and then communicating with the Linux externally, or internal to redacted and then communicating with that, which is simpler. All right, because here's the thing. Here's what we have to do. All right, we have a code editor. Come on, man. We have the editor, and then somewhere we have the compiler. Even two versions of it. The Linux and the redacted compiler. Actually, let's actually call it an LSP. Will I make it use JSON? I don't know. I technically have a JSON parser, so I could. I don't have a JSON formatter, but we're already in the way. Alright, both of these present different challenges, right? So challenge number one is I need to create some sort of LSP system. Something that acts like an LSP. It is a protocol, so I'm assuming really all we need to do is receive input somehow and receive and send output. which I plan on doing through the file system in both cases. And even if it's not an LSP, if I don't use JSON, I just use something very my own thing through the file system, which frankly sounds more interesting to me. I have to create in both cases a file system service, which allows me to communicate to the syntax highlighter, the code completionist. That sounds like it 100%'s your code, like a video game. The code completer, completion tool, fucking that thing. In both cases, I want to be able to do it through a service, a file system service, which, you know, will allow me to send commands, do things, whatnot. We're gonna need most likely some kind of a file creation if we want to make it, you know, kind of maintain state to a certain extent. I guess right now what I want to do is I want to look at how LSPs work, right, and see what you can learn from them. But yeah, either way, the file system service, which for my system is going to be relatively easy, similar to what I did with the clipboard. You know, we can have certain files that we talk to in order to issue commands to the LSP, certain files that we talk to in order to send data to the LSP, and then a program behind them that just controls all that. If I really need to, I can make it a kernel program, but if not, it would be nice to also have on top of it the file system in user space. All the file system is expandable through system modules, which I've built a lot of recently, such as the clipboard one, which that's the wrong thing. Here, a system module, which is just this definition here with a bunch of functions. And I gave processes the ability to mount themselves to the file system, but right now that's limited only to kernel privileged processes. So I would rather not have to do that, and I would rather have it in user space, because that way your program can expose a certain path through the file system, and that way you can have even something like services in the kernel, well, outside of the kernel, I mean. The reason I didn't implement it and I had to limit it is I had to think about permissions. Essentially, certain code that needs to be executed. Well, right now all the file system operations are executed in kernel privilege, which means if there were certain functions that were supposed to be executed by the user space, then that becomes a little bit of an issue, because it would essentially allow the program to run privileged code, an unprivileged program to run privileged code with the current limitation of the file system. So I would need to make the file system work in user space as much as possible inside of my system. In Linux, I don't have that issue. I have a fuse driver. Thing is, the fuse driver needs to have physical and virtual compatibility. Right. There is only one folder inside of Linux that I can expose to my system that I can essentially communicate with. So if the LSP is running on Linux, I can only do it through this folder. This is the shared folder for the system. And it contains physical files, but I would need a fuse driver that can both have these physical files, but also virtual files, so that it can have the virtual file system service stuff that I need. So I would need to build 2 of those things, and then the editor would simply just talk to, I don't know, making it up, LSP highlight, something like that. Or if it's from Linux, shared LSP highlight. Alright, so I kind of have to pick. Do I want to develop it locally or do I want to develop it in Linux? Oh, and another thing that, of course, I need to do locally is compiler. Now, both of these things have advantages because I want to do both of the both of these things require me to build different aspects of my file system, both of which I want. One of which is the distributed system that allows me to talk to other operating systems, and the other one allows me to talk to my own system and applications within my own system. So I kind of want to do both, but I have to decide which one I want to do first. Locally would require me to be able to build a compiler, build a service on top of the compiler, and port the compiler to the system. I think it's going to be doable. We're going to check in a little bit. I think it's going to be doable. Maybe this is going to be nothing. But yeah, I kind of have to do both. File system and user space, I'm honestly not even sure how difficult this will be. So I have to... I actually also need to do this thing. It's a complicated one. I may need to study this and think about it and actually start implementing this stuff on Friday. Whereas today I'm gonna maybe work on getting the compiler to work inside my system and look at how LSPs work. Not a whole lot more development, but yeah, a little bit better. To give myself some time to think about this. Alright. So... Alright. It is part of my OS. See, the thing is that running on Linux wouldn't be a temporary solution, because I also want to be able to host services inside of other systems and share them, because it's a distributed operating system, not just distributed within instances of itself, but also distributed with other systems. So that's why I want to develop a Fuse driver as well. But I guess we'll see. Alright, first off, does it build? Yes. Second, what if I build it targeting redacted explicitly? What did you do? That didn't work. Yeah, right. I need to do, I want to do both at some point or another. It's just that technically the 2 file systems that I'm developing for Linux and for my own system, they're at different points. They have each other's missing features. Together they make a perfectly fine file system or a perfectly useless one, if you combine them in creative ways. Alright, here. I made some changes to my build system's configuration file so I can do this. And build for other systems. Alright, that seems to have worked, perhaps? Where did you install that? Where could you possibly have tried to install that? What is this, though? What are all these errors? Is this for rebuilding, or what are all these errors? I'm a little confused. Hold on. Oh. Oh. It's a little more complicated. Okay. there's a there's actually two modules being built. I hadn't, okay, yeah. There's two modules being built. Rule generator, which should always target native, so it should override any global targets that are set. Because global target is what I'm using to make it compile for this system instead of Linux. But yeah, this one should always run inside of, for native, because it's actually building code for the compiler. Wait, I'm still not sure that that worked. Yeah, it didn't. Override is weird. I'm gonna call it override like that. What is this context object? That would come from here, I believe. I set store that, and then when we do run, either check if the compilation target is that. That. Okay. Which means essentially, if we're supposed to run, we use the actual target that we're compiling and not the global target. Still not sure that worked. It didn't. It didn't work. God damn it. Yeah, here's what it's doing. It's putting the rule generator instead of here. That's not what I want. The rule generator should be run natively. And also, maybe you should just be ignoring this. Why is it not working? I don't understand what exactly is making you run the operating system when the compilation target is not this. Alright, rule gen, target native that, rule gen, target native override. So you should be calling override. Yes. Set if it's overriding, and if you're not overriding, this is not gonna run. Which means the target type should be this one. Target type 2. 2, Linux. Why? Why did you set it to Linux? The target type that you were given was T. Alright. Start over. The target is rulegen. Set its name, set the target type. Are you only doing that once? Yes. When you set the target type, you're setting it to native, always native. Yes. Linux. Oh wait, actually Linux is correct, yes. So it is working. Alright. Then why is it not working though? When I try to run this. What are all these errors, by the way? I'm so confused as to what's happening here. When you build this thing, you compile it and you run it. Here it is compiling. And then running the compile, which is this thing. Compiling the rulegem program. And then I don't understand why we're running this. I don't understand where this is coming from. The only place that I'm calling run is here. And this print should be there, but it's not. Unless I forgot to recompile, that's it. There's a lot more. Okay, target type 1. 1 is wrong. I see. This is overriding the compile target. Sup, Jester? Okay, that was better. Alright, so now it thinks, I think it runs rulegen. Let me check. Should be able to delete this file. And it comes back on its own. Yes. But why are you trying to use those functions? Asan report store in function enum code register elem. Something about this code apparently is trying to access this. And there's a million of these errors to the point that they literally fill up the entire buffer. Oh, no, they don't. Okay, so I can actually read the top. Here. This is the final compilation command that I'm using inside of here. Yeah, so simple. Can you deselect it, please? Thank you. That's a lot easier to read. Alright, this is the compile command that it's using inside of... Oof, fuck, this is trippy as hell. It's freestanding, no stdlib. It's including this. It's including redlib. Then graph code, C code, C transformer, identity transform. All of these are input files. They're all after the other. They end here. Then it's including libshared, the systems version of libshared. No format invalid specifier, no format extra args. Oh cred. That looks to me, and it's using Arch64 non-elf GCC with freestanding and no stdlib. So what are all these? ASAN report store. So it's definitely adding some stuff there that I don't really want it to add. I don't know what that is or why it's there. Underscore ASAN init. That's the address. Oh, the address sanitizer. That is part of the compile command. F sanitize address. Diddy. Not sure what's happening here. But I see the problem. Alright. The address sanitizer comes from here. This should not be included. Well, no, hold on. G should be included. The other one should not. Alright, so I want two of you. Always include G. Never, well, not never. Sometimes include this one only for external targets. Redis C. Compilation target. What was it called? Yeah, compilation target. I didn't fully recompile that. Okay. Yep. Now the problem is it got copied to here, and here, but it's just a binary file. It doesn't really know what it's looking at here. Based off the context, compilation type, is it? Package type. If the package type is a binary, then I want you to install two. This one's gonna be a little bit painful because we currently don't have a folder for it. Can I include it? Is that a good idea? No, I'm just gonna hard code. But it's gonna go into this, into OS, FS, Red OS, tools. That's where you're gonna put our compiler. Package bin. That's how you package bin. Nope, I did the wrong one. All right. Alright, moment of truth. We're gonna go to the terminal. I'm gonna try to run cred. It's probably gonna complain because the file that it's trying to compile doesn't exist. Nah, come on, man. Come on, man. Nah. Should be inside of boot, but I don't think we can see anything in here. I can check if it was installed manually. Here it is. Cred. Cred.elf. It expects a .elf. Alright. In the case of a package red, you expect this extension. Break. In case of a package bin, you expect this extension. Break. And in case of a package lib, you expect no extension. Break. Besides that, if the compilation target is redacted, you use elf. Otherwise, you don't. I'll remove it entirely, but that should work. And then all of them. Kinda like that. And we're gonna put the extension here. Lin. Alright. I'm using a VM, but I'm not on a VM right now. No, come on. It didn't get copied over, did it? Not with the right name, anyway. The package type, it's package bin, because you're very much trying to install here. I'm assigning the extension when it's this, elf, otherwise 0. Well, expect it to work. Well, it actually didn't install anything. Oh, wait. This was a completely different condition. Where essentially the condition is this. If it's a binary for redacted, then you're gonna add the elf extension, otherwise nothing. It's gonna go here. Nah, it's not there. Again, I added just a new package type bin, yeah. I did recompile this thing. I mean, if this was working, like, just with the wrong file name, shouldn't it also still be working? Whether it's with the old file name or none at all? Shouldn't that be a thing that happens. Cred into I see what the problem is. I need to consider, do I really want to go through the effort of formatting a string so I can have a .elf at the end properly? Because what's happening here is it's missing the /cred part. So it's copying here, tools.elf. That's my compiler, tools.elf. Wrong name. Do I really want to go through the effort of that, or do I want to remove .elf from the freaking operating system? How difficult would that be to do? Let me see. That would be here. No, that would be here. I do want to do it, but honestly, I'm just gonna hack it together right now. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make it very simple. Probably not even gonna commit this whole thing. No, just like that. .elf, and replace this with this. Whereas this one is gonna stay as it was before without this thing, which means also without this thing. And it's gonna be like that, and it's gonna be string s like that. Very hacked together, but should be fine. Still didn't copy it. Still copied as tool.elf, because I didn't actually recompile the damn thing. I forgot the slash. Alright, get rid of that. There it is, there it is, okay. Okay. Okay, so the compiler is working inside of the operating system. Quick little question that I have for it. What are you compiling? Expected end of file found nothing in block line 1 file 0. I'm assuming it's found an empty string, and that's just its way of saying that. That's really weird. But it does work. I did not have to close that. All I had to do was run it with a proper path. That would be cred. You're gonna go to projects, code, bring code dot main.c, output. You're gonna put it in projects, code, bring build. Brain code No. Red B extension. Alright. I have to move through the terminal manually right now, so it's a little bit annoying. Build test dot C is gonna be your output. Fail to open file. Woohoo! Amazing. Oh, it's supposed to be. I skipped an entire part of the directory, which is home. Home projects. Home projects. Syntactic analysis finished. Generation took 16 milliseconds. I think we got it. The first compilation to happen within my system. And there's an ad on Twitch that I didn't notice. Whoops. My bad. No, we didn't. Oh, the file doesn't exist. So build. Let's empty you out. Alright, there we have it. You know what? Hold on. Just gonna wait for the ad to be over on Twitch. And pretend that nothing happened, alright? Oh no, compilation didn't work. Oh damn. I wish I knew what the problem was. I'm just gonna sit here and stare until I figure it out. Turns out there's actually no problem. But we're gonna wait for the ad to be over. Oh no. Damn, I wonder what the problem with my code is. It's so annoying when your code doesn't work, am I right? It's so fucking annoying, I swear to God. Oh my God. Debugging. That's something else. Alright, and the ad is over on Twitch. Let's see if my compiler, for the first time ever, can compile a program. From within my operating system, it compiles. That's amazing. And we definitely didn't know that would happen. I was on the edge of my... Did that crash? I feel like this crashed when I just tried to run it. I don't know what happened there. But we did compile this file from within the operating system. That is pretty neat. It was even kind of fast. I don't want to say it was fast, but it was kind of fast. Actually, try again. Hold on. I have to type in the whole thing again. I have copy and paste, but I don't have copy and paste implemented in a lot of places yet, so I kind of have to do this part manually. Home projects code bring code build dot redb output home projects code. Is that not typing anymore? Oh no. Oh, that's wonderful. Terminal probably needs a little bit of love now that I can actually compile from it. See, that's kind of my roadmap. I noticed that there's a bug in something. If I'm gonna keep using that thing, I'll fix it. I don't really have a strict roadmap or anything like that. Though, before the end of the stream, I kind of want to check it out. Like my old roadmap and see how's that going. Slash build.c. It's a little bit slow. Jesus Christ. It's really slow when there's another userland program running. Yeah, I feel like it got stuck. I did mention it sometimes can have a bit of a meltdown. It can have some infinite loops in the compiler parser code, and I'm not sure why. I'll need to debug that if we want to use the compiler in any significant form. But it does compile. I do want to try that again. I just have to type that whole thing in again. Alright, now it worked. 13 milliseconds total. Let's run the same command from here. Here, luckily, I don't have to do full paths. I can just do a much simpler build.c command. Takes 1 millisecond, so it is quite slower than the native version of it, unsurprisingly, which is another big advantage of it. But, okay. Alright. So where we are in terms of, I want to build an LSP type system. I have two half-finished file systems, one for Linux, one for my system, both of which have features that the other one needs. So I need to develop one or the other. I think I'll make an educated decision for which one to do on Friday, since I'm not going to do that today anyway. It's already kind of late. And I'll decide which one of these to do. I think probably Linux, because it's going to be faster. I don't know. While I'm at it, one more thing before I forget. Before I'm fully done with the code. The elf extensions are annoying. Alright, I want to very quickly go through this list of things that I wanted my system to be able to handle by the time I do version 1.0. So the green ones are already done, the blue ones I've been working on, and the red ones I haven't started. So, very quickly. Error recovery, something like Task Manager on, well, not Task Manager, just like Control-Alt-Delete on Windows, or the very shitty alternative that Linux has, or Command-Alt-Escape, well, Option-Escape on Mac. Just for error recovery, I haven't started this. I technically just got an error, but I could have just closed the window. The problem is the window isn't really closable, so that's a different story. I wanted to do a docking system for my window manager, hopefully with a code editor and a compiler working within the operating system. I can start writing code in it a lot more, and this will actually become useful. Basic window functions, likewise, although today closing a window would have been helpful. Window manager, I do have that. 3D rendering, why did I want to do OpenG? Oh, right. I wanted my system's 3D renderer to be compatible with OpenGL, so I can have one library translate calls from another library. I haven't done any of that. Also, Vulkan DirectX or Metal. No. But I've barely touched the 3D rendering, so. I divided my system into modules, which gets conditionally compiled, and all my drivers are now in these modules. Dynamic loading of modules is not a thing that I do yet. I'm not needing them for anything, so we're good. I have a build system with conditional compilation and customization. I have some more stuff that I want to do for it, but I'm not doing it right now. Focusing on hardware a little bit. Yeah, it technically started. Haven't really made much effort with that. I always have something else to work on. Decentralized distributed file system is kind of the... Well, I've made a lot of effort and a lot of... moved forward with that quite a lot this past 2 weeks, kind of. And I have to do more apparently on Friday, so this is definitely underway. Memory, yeah. Well, separating malloc allocations by process or context, or even in the kernel, I haven't done that, so maybe I'll keep it like that. Multi-threading, have not done that. Encryption, permissions, not really. I have learned about security. I have started to design how the permission system will work in my system, but I don't really have a reason to implement it yet. C++ to C. I've actually just been manually translating my code. That way I don't have to maintain C++ code, I just get rid of it. And a package manager, I don't really have that, but I have a distributed architecture, which means I don't really need a package manager. So do I really want a package manager in the first place? If I ever need it, I'll add it to the list again. So, yeah, no bad. It's good. I feel like actually, yeah, put in a lot of work on this, and I'm very glad. Also, I have this random thing here for disabling recent files on GNOME. It worked, because it's not here anymore, so I don't think I need it anymore. Bye. Alright. Final thing. Kinda probably will need to speed run through it today and then just go look through it on Friday. I wanted to look at the language server protocol. Very simple overview of it. This is really all you have? Seriously? Alright, so one thing I really don't like about LSPs, which makes me not want to implement LSPs or implement even just a basic kind of compatibility layer with LSPs, is the fact that they work over network socket, whereas instead I want to work through the file system. Since the tool acts as the client that consumes the language services provided by the language server, the tool is a text editor or IDE, and the language services could be refactoring, code completion, etc. This is technically different servers providing different features. The client informs the server about what the user is doing, opening a file, inserting a character at a specific text position. Alright. If only there was a way to do that with the file system. You know, that plus doing it in the file system, binding the file system, kind of like symlinks, but not really. Well, like linking, but not really, which I was talking about implementing yesterday. And timestamps to detect when a file has changed could make that a lot more efficient, because you don't have to inform the server of anything. You just have to tell it, hey, look over this code, and that's it. And that is kind of how I want to build this thing, and also for any other services. And much prefer if I don't have to inform it about any changes. It just knows about these changes. So that is an advantage. It can work over STD in and out. Interesting. That's good. Don't necessarily love the idea, but sure. Defines the messages to be exchanged between the language server, the JSON RPC preceded by headers similar to HTTP. That sounds like the most inefficient thing ever. You could do so much better. Messages may originate from the server or the client. The protocol does not make any provisions about how requests, responses, and notifications are transferred between client or server. For example, a client server could be compatible. Okay. It is interesting. But again, if I develop my own solution without relying on what Microsoft has already done, it can actually help me develop a lot of things that I want my system to have. So again, if you don't... me communicating with a LSP can be as simple as in kind of shell pseudocode, let's say. Let's say that my LSP is made available at this one for syntax highlighting, for example. This one for completion. And the way that it works is it has a command file that I talk to in order to send commands to it. And maybe it even has a response file that I read in order to get what it has to tell me. Or, hold on, actually language could have syntax, right? Let's do it like this. I prefer that syntax. /language is this other LSP architecture. Cred is the language that we're working with. I can send commands to CMD, and I can then read from /syntax or /format or /whatever. Complete even. So all I need to do, really, is bind my own code project to /language /cred/proj, which would also be a kind of folder that it, or src probably. And then not bind, just write to language cred cmd It would probably need to be a little bit more advanced than this. But yeah, something that simple. I don't really have to tell it, oh, the user opened the file, oh, the user closed the file. Relying on timestamps, it should be able to know when some stuff is happening and when it needs to even automatically handle this type of stuff. So maybe I even tell it like something like this, where src is, yeah, just a binding of the current code, the same that is inside of my actual source, sent over to this service. Then I tell it to just begin syntax highlighting, and it can automatically create syntax highlighting for whatever files are open. I can tell it which files are open to begin with, for example, or not. I can just tell it to do it for everything. Optimization details will come later, I guess. And then I'm working on main.c. I need to get the syntax highlighting information for this. I just read it from /syntax/main.c, and I use it to read from my, to read into my my thing, my you know, my, yeah, the thing whose name I completely forgot, into my code editor, and I can use that for syntax highlighting. Maybe I can even tell it to begin syntax. Maybe I don't even have to give it a command. Just by reading from this, it makes it automatically get the latest version. And if it's smart enough, it should even be able to know that, you know, the last time the file was changed was 5 seconds ago, and the last time that you generated the syntax was 7 seconds ago, so you need to update. Whereas the last time that you generated the syntax was 3 seconds ago, you don't need to generate. So doing my own architecture for this type of thing can allow me to do a couple features that I really want to do. The one is binding a folder to another, and the other is, which by the way can also help me develop it for Linux later on, since I kind of want to bind these folders to the Fuse file system, the virtual file system, so bind the real folders to the virtual folders. And then I mentioned a long time ago wanting to do like file write synchronization using timestamps and deltas. And if my file system already supports those, then literally as simple as this to be able to get syntax highlighting from a language server. That would be nice. That would be very nice to have. All right, that's for me to ponder. But I'm going to end the stream here, and next time I'm streaming is going to be Friday. I'm going to consider, again, which system I want to work on, whether it's going to be Linux and then communicating with my system, or when it's going to be directly in my system. Now that I've thought of this and wanting to develop my file system further with binding and with that thing, I'm leaning more towards making it inside of the OS. It would also be 100% local, even though everything's running on the same machine, really. It wouldn't be any latency. I'm kind of leaning more towards local because I can build it like this. But it's going to be a bit before we're actually able to build it. All right. Yeah, from the way the LSPs work, what little I know and what I read here, it's nice, it's fine. But again, if I implement my own solution, I can make it much more simple to implement, because most of the features are actually file system features, which can then be reused elsewhere. And also they're features that I already wanted to add to the file system, so it would be incredibly simple. All right, so I'll consider all of that before Friday, and then I'll start building this damn thing on Friday. This time I'll try not to forget. I think I remember that this is what I'm trying to build. And again, most likely it's going to be this. Most likely Linux is going to wait a little bit. Actually, building what I said is going to allow me to do this. All right. In the meantime, that's the end of the stream. So next stream is going to be same time as today, 8:30 p.m. Central European time on Friday. We're going to work a little bit on the LSP stuff, on the LP language protocol without server, language file system protocol. Let's call it that. The LFSP. Just starting to sound really weird. But yeah, the LFSP. LFSP, not LSFP. All right, thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you then.